Okay, so now you've got to grips with how the basic grid system works within Bootstrap, we can actually take a look at another powerful feature, which is media queries. So if we head back to the CSS section of the Bootstrap website, and if we click on the grid system, then just scroll down slightly, we can actually see our media queries section here. Now, media queries are actually great for adding different styles for different devices within their different breakpoints. So in these examples here, we can see that any styles you want to apply to small devices, such as tablets, then you would add these to a small class media query, which would apply this style to those devices and any devices that are larger, as it uses the actual minimum width property. And again, if you wanted to style specific for medium-sized devices and up, you would add the styles to this style here, which is for devices over 992 pixels. You can also apply the max value to the media queries. Now this tends to be if you're designing for desktop first, and then you want to adjust the styles for the smaller devices. Now Bootstrap always want you to design for mobile first, so they always want you to use the minimum width queries. Now it is best to have an understanding of both, just in case you needed to design for either mobile or desktop first. It's always good to have the option of both. Now if I just show you a quick example, I've just created a simple index page with some text applied. And in this example here, we actually have some media queries set up for these smaller devices. So anything that's over 768 pixels. So here, on anything under 76 pixels, because we're using the minimum width, the font size will be 1 EM. And anything over that will be font size 2. So if I just load up this page, we should see the actual font size as 2 on the large devices. If I just shrink this down, as we hit the medium devices, the font should stay the same. Yep. Then if we hit the next breakpoint, which is a small, there we go, the text actually drops down to 1 EM like we suggested. So that's just a quick example of how the media queries work. So they can be very powerful when you're designing for different devices. I've actually attached this example to the lecture, so feel free to download it and have a play around if you're not quite sure about media queries yet. But we actually go through them within the lecture, so you get a better understanding as you work your way through the course, so don't get too hung up on it if you don't quite understand it yet. Okay, so we've been through our introduction. Now we need to actually download our Bootstrap files, which will give us the basic setup we need to start building our page. So if we head back to getbootstrap.com again, you should see this large download Bootstrap in the middle of the home page. So if we just click on that, this takes us to the download section. Now there are actually 3 different options that you are given here to download, and the one that we actually need is this Bootstrap one here. So if we click on the download Bootstrap button, that should download the actual files to your machine. So when the folder has actually been downloaded onto your machine, if you extract the files, you'll be displayed with another folder. So you can actually delete the zip folder that you've just downloaded because you won't need that anymore. And when you've got your folder in a place that you can easily access it, it's probably best to rename it. So in this case, I've actually called it PSD To Boot. And if we actually look in our folder, we have our folders for the Bootstrap framework, which is the default CSS folder, our fonts folder, and our JavaScript folder. So that's all we actually need to do at the moment. But just make sure that you download the folder, rename it, and place it in a location that's easily accessible, as you will actually be using it a lot during this course. Now, as you'll be creating code during this course, it's probably best to suggest some options to you. Now obviously, if you already have an editor that you use for coding, then you can skip this section. But if you're new and you're not quite sure which way to go, I'll just provide a couple of options. Now, as I'll be using a Mac for this course, I'll actually be using Text Wrangler, which is a free piece of software that is very popular amongst developers, and it actually has features such as syntax highlighting, which is always useful. And obviously there are paid versions, such as the popular Coder 2, which again is very common amongst developers. But this is paid, like I say, I think it's around $99. So if coding is something you are serious about, then it's obviously a worthwhile investment. But like I say, during the course I'll be using this Text Wrangler, which is a free version for the Mac. Obviously there are versions for Windows, such as Notepad++, which again has a lot of features, such as syntax highlighting, which is always useful. And again, the ever popular Sublime Text, which is very common amongst developers. And again, there's always paid versions for Windows, such as Coffee Cup software. Again, this is a powerful HTML editor, and I believe it does come with a free version as well, so it's worth looking into. But obviously there are many different versions. It's important to find one that you are comfortable using and has all the features that you need. But like I said, I'll be using Text Wrangler for the duration of this course, which is a free piece of software for the Mac. Okay, so we have our files downloaded from the Bootstrap website, but you'll probably notice we are missing our index file and our style sheet, which we use to add styles to our page. So let's create those now. So if we head to our code editor, you'll need to create a new blank page, and the first one we'll actually create is our style sheet. So when we get started with creating our styles, we'll add all the content into this file. But first, if we go to File and Save As, and we actually need to make sure that we save this into our CSS folder within our file structure. And we can simply call this style.css, and we'll just save that off. Excellent. Okay, so now what we do is create a new blank page again. However, before we save this off, we actually need to go and get the Bootstrap default template code from the Bootstrap website to make sure we are connected to the styles and scripts within the Bootstrap framework. So if we head to bootstrap.com again and click on the Getting Started link, and if we scroll down slightly, we should get to the Basic Templates section. Now what we need to do is just copy this code here and actually paste it into our code editor. And like I said, this actually makes sure that we're connected to all the Bootstrap frameworks such as the CSS and the JavaScripts. But now what we need to do is actually link to our own style CSS that we've just created here. So if we find the Bootstrap min CSS, we can actually add our link under here. So we add the link tag, then the href, and we find the location of our file, so it's in the CSS folder, and we call it style.css. Then we add the rel equals style sheet, which basically tells the browser that this again is a style sheet. And the last quick thing we need to do here is to delete this hello world. And that will actually give us our blank template or our starting page that we need to go forward. So all we need to do now is save this off into the top level of our folder structure. And we just need to give this a name of index.html. So if we check our folder, we have our index file in here, and also our style within our CSS folder. Now one last thing that we need to do is create our image folder that's going to contain all our images for our landing page. So just make sure that you're in the top level of the folder structure. We just need to create a new folder and give that a name of img for image. Excellent. So now we're actually all set up and we're ready to move on to actually start building our landing page, which we'll actually do within the next section. So if we look at our navbar and our PSD file, we can see that the only image we have is the logo of the brand that the page is actually for. So previously in Photoshop you would probably have to slice the document up into sections and save off each section into an HTML file, which was very cumbersome. But because Bootstrap is so versatile, and there's actually a lot you can do physically within the code, we only need to take the bits that we need for each section. So now I'm just going to select the logo and then find it in the Layers section. Then if I hold down Alt and then click on the eye, that actually removes everything apart from what you've chosen. So in this case it'll be our logo. Then what we do is go to Image and then click Trim. Then all we need to do here is click OK. And that will actually trim down the canvas to the size of the selected image. Then all we need to do is save this off in our image folder. So we go to File, then what we need to do here is Save for Web and Devices. Then what we need to do is just change this JPEG here to a PNG to make sure that we keep the transparent background. Then we click Save. Then what we do is just save this off as logo.png. And we'll just make sure that we're in the image folder. Then if we hit Save, now what you need to do is just make sure you don't click Save and actually overwrite the file. So you can either do the undo function 2 times, or you can go back in the history panel, whichever is easiest. And that's all we actually need, because that's the only image that's in our header. So now we can actually get on with adding our navbar to our page and then start to style it according to the design of our PSD, which we'll do in our next lecture.